Welcome back to Countdown to Kickoff. We are live in Port Isabel at Tarpon Stadium. It's a fantastic scene. Everyone here, the cheerleaders, the band, and we know if you love football, you're going to want to stay with us, Joe, after Countdown to Kickoff, because tonight we've got the preseason game. It's the Texans and the Broncos as Gary Kubiak makes his return to Reliance Stadium in Houston. That'll be a good one.
That's the pinnacle of football up at the NFL level. Let's go all the way down to the smallest schools we can find in the Rio Grande Valley, because this is the spot where one player over the summer can make a huge difference and impact and have a team go from non-contender to contender. Let's take a look at our small schools from the Rio Grande Valley.
District 16-3A, Division 1.
Accuracy is very important in this offense. All the windows are not going to be big old gaping windows that you have to throw to. They're going to be tight. So I have to put them in those tight windows and make sure the receiver gets it.
It's accurate to say Lyford coach Jaime Infante is a master of offensive schemes. And after starting his junior season, Bulldogs quarterback John Rivera ready to become a master as well, running a new read option system designed to frustrate the defensive opponent.
It messes with the defense. They don't know what to do. It confuses them. They don't know whether to stop the run or the pass. We're just going to keep them guessing and hopefully score off of that.
We put them through some things that hurt a little bit, and it should hurt. You know, anything worthwhile is going to hurt a little bit.
What hurts for the Warriors seniors? That was the thought of losing to Goliad in the playoffs for 2 straight years. How to get over that hurt? A defensive secondary that returns all of its starters, an offense that's not afraid to pass every once in a while, and an offensive line that's ready to overachieve.
We're pretty much going to be outsized every week, but we're going to show them with our technique and our hard work out here, trying to get our endurance up. We're going to stick it through them.
We're able to do things day one that we weren't able to do year 1 and year 2, even just because of the experience factor.
District 16-3A, Division 2.
Being a 4-year starter, since I was a freshman, I had to grow up really fast. Well, actually, all of us had to grow up really fast since we didn't have enough players. We've come a long way.
The Blue Devils have put in the work. Now they are starting to reap the rewards. Freshmen thrown into starting roles 4 years ago in Monte Alto's first varsity season are now seniors, including quarterback Frankie Rojas, who has evolved into a dual threat on offense.
He looks great at quarterback. He's gotten stronger. He throws the ball better. And just his overall knowledge of football and what we're asking him to do has helped us out big time.
District 16-2A, Division 1.
It's been a pretty rough ride. I mean, we've had 3 different coaches in the past 4 years, and as far as Coach Alvarez, I mean, he wants this program to succeed in every way.
New Cardinals coach Sean Alvarez, just hired 2 months ago, is making up for lost time at La Villa. One way to do that, keep the same slot T offense the Cards had been running, but with some big beef on the O-line, tweak that attack to add a passing game to the mix.
The kids have been around our offense, so they're familiar with it, the terminology. Kind of the eye-opener for me, and it's kind of stuck out is how much size we have up front, and we definitely have the foundation with them.
I'm coming back, and because we're returning, the kids are responding and there's interest.
Rolando Aguirre is back coaching the Cougars after a year, reassigned, and just in the nick of time. Santa Maria's numbers were drastically down until Aguirre's return. Now the core of Cougars seniors, like 3-year starting quarterback Isaac Ortiz, have to get the new guys up to speed.
We got more chemistry, and the guys are stronger, smarter. They know how to hit the holes. They get their blocks.
Private schools and independents.
These players have a chip on their shoulder. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Our school had been consistently making the playoffs for the last 5 seasons, and last year just they felt like they let the school down.
Big changes for the Bloodhounds as offensive coordinator Tino Villarreal is promoted to head coach in the offseason. And even though star quarterback Kai Money's passing game continues to improve, the new coach and spread guru says big linemen and big backs will bring a power game to St. Joe this year.
We're doing a lot more than we did last year, different formations, different personnel. I mean, it's really exciting.
I think that by the time we hit district, St. Joe, who's been known for offense, is going to be really tough on the defensive side of the ball.
They provide great leadership. They do it by example, which is really important for these young kids to see and to follow those footsteps.
Leathernecks coach David Robledo talking about his senior class at Marine Military Academy, a small group of die-hard players, yet wide and varied enough to include an Ohio quarterback who's played for over a decade and his center, a Chinese national, just discovering the great game.
I've been playing since first grade, and I love the sport, so I would do anything to play even after this year.
This sport built my physically and mentally. I feel like I'm getting bigger a little bit. Built my mentally strong too, because I learned I never give up and never quit.
This is our 5th year in the program, and with that, I think that we can take our program to keep going to next levels.
With the first ever senior class to play 4 years of football, the Ocelots of Far Oratory are ready to take that next step as a program. Coach Javier Perneda's offense returns 3-year starters at quarterback and running back, as well as an off-season training program that's beginning to take hold.
Before the season actually started last year, we had a lot of kids come into my office and said, Coach, we want to do better. What is it we need to do? A lot of kids spent a lot of time in the gym. We asked these kids to really push the limit a little bit, to be more competitive.
Private schools and independents.
Hey, Joe, I always enjoy going out to those small schools. They love their football just as much as the big schools do, sometimes even more.
Yeah, sometimes even more. When you interview a coach and you ask the question, how many players have to go both ways, and you know it's going to be 5, 6, 7, or 8, then you know something special brewing right there.
Absolutely. When we come back on Countdown to Kickoff, we're going to talk a little more about some of the small schools and some of the big stars they have. It's all when we come back on Action 4's Countdown to Kickoff 2015. Saw our preview of the small schools. Now let's talk a little bit about who we think is going to make the stars and who might make the playoffs. Joe, let's start with La Villa. They've got a brand new coach in Sean Alvarez. He was the defensive coordinator at George West. He inherits a pretty decent team.
And that's where you start on these small schools, Clay, is what have you got? What's the core of your players? You got tradition at La Villa, which helps a lot because there's that pride factor. Players that didn't make the playoffs last year are suddenly saying, that's not good enough for our school. And then you got a core of players that are good. Are they a playoff team? Well, they got the chances to be.
Yeah, and one other thing that Sean Alvarez is inheriting at La Villa is a great quarterback in Macario Perez. He's definitely a good guy to have for whether it's 2A or 3A. The guy can get things done both with his feet and in the air. He's a guy who definitely Alvarez will be counting on this year.
And one way that I measure that, I get to cover a lot of 7-on-7 during the summer, and I always go back to that because it is a chance to see these quarterbacks and how they time with their receivers. And his timing looked letter perfect during the spring and summertime.
All right, let's talk about another big star from one of the small schools, Leo Lara from Santa Rosa. This kid, the legend of Leo Lara, just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year.
It's not just the basketball court. I called him the world's greatest athlete at Santa Rosa last night when we were getting our show together. Leo Lara, he punts, he can play the quarterback position, and when he does, he runs the show. Is he a one-man gang? No, I don't think so this year. I think he's going to have some pieces around him that's going to allow him not to do what you're seeing here and run for his life. Leo Lara, though, is the it factor for Santa Rosa.
Now, Santa Rosa, of course, made the playoffs last year. They made the playoffs the last 2 years ago, and they've gotten beaten by Goliad both times. Goliad, one of those Central Texas teams that it's really tough, up there between Victoria and Corpus. They are really tough to beat.
Yeah, so I think you hang your hat on the fact that let's make the playoffs the realistic goal, and from there you say anything can happen in the playoffs. But first and foremost, get through your season, beat La Feria, obviously, if you're in Santa Rosa, but get to the playoffs.
Now, another team that's going to have a very, very tough district to even make the playoffs is, of course, Brownsville St. Joseph. Tino Villarreal was the offensive coordinator there for years. Now he is the head coach, and, he's the guy who loves the spread, brought the Oregon offense, but now he's saying that he's got some big guys, he's got some running backs, and he's actually going to be running the ball a little more than he was last year when Kai Money, the great quarterback, was just a freshman.
Yeah, it's the only team I saw all summer long during 7-on-7 that the line showed up just to watch the team play, and as I was standing next to him, my friends, I'm about 6'1.5", 6'2", guys taller than me, bigger than me, and these are all young linemen. So yeah, the linemen are there, and this is a unit that's bonded together, and of course the quarterback, no slouch there either.
No, definitely not, but they're going to have to be good to make the playoffs in a great district that has Antonian, that has Austin St. Michael's, that has some more of those San Antonio schools. And it's going to be very tough for Brownsville St. Joseph to make the playoffs. Let's talk about the playoffs. Last year, like we said, Santa Rosa, the only one of our small schools to make it. Do you see anybody else? Do you see Santa Rosa even making the playoffs this year?
Santa Rosa is going to have to do some things defensively that are the unknowns. We know they're going to score some points, so they should, but can they do it defensively? St. Joe, again, Clay, if this size plays out the way it looks like they will, and they can run the football and they can be ball control if needed and slow some pace down and then hit you with lightning strikes, then they can make the playoffs. And once they get there, obviously you just take over the athleticism and try to make plays. But Santa Rosa, St. Joe, I'm okay saying they got a shot to make it.
And I'm saying Lyford is another team that's going to make it. I love their quarterback, John Rivera. They're playing that Jaime Infante offense to a T. It's all about timing and routes, and it is fantastic. John Rivera, one of the best quarterbacks they've had at Lyford in a long time. I've got them making the playoffs coming this year.
Yeah, and that's one of the schools that you talk about program. Kids that have played the same thing 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, all the way to senior year. So if you got a quarterback that has the timing already set, then yeah, it's just insert player, throw the play out, and play the game. Yeah, I like Lyford. I always like Lyford. They just never seem to put it together.
They're going to put it together this year. Mark my words. And mark my words, we will be coming right back on Countdown to Kickoff, Action Forward's look at the high school football season. Coming your way, it's our look at one of the most wide open districts in the Valley, District 31-5A. Everyone has improved. Who will make the playoffs? We'll preview all the teams when we come back.